Okay, so I think we're good to go. What do you think?
The lighting looks excellent. Your hair looks stunning as always.
Thank you.
Pre-show cheers.
Oh shit! Yeah, it's gonna be a problem.
These mics are not making it easy for pre-show cheers.
Yes, no, it's not. Oh yeah.
You slay those old fashions, man. What happens is I end up getting hammered because they're so good.
Well, I also use 100 proof whiskey, and I go light on the simple syrup, so it's not too sweet. So you're not like,
oh, it's so good though.
Yeah,
it's like the perfect
styled in.
Love me a good old fashioned. Not to put any pressure on you, but
okay.
Do you think we can get this intro
on the first try? His name is Darren. Mine's AJ. And this is. Let's try it. Okay.
It's okay. We're gonna kill it right now.
We're gonna crush it.
We got this.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Frank Vogel was hired by the Suns.
In Major League Baseball, add the Milwaukee Brewers to the list of teams that could potentially relocate.
And the biggest news in golf, the PGA and Liv merged together.
All that and more. My name is Darren, that is AJ, and this is the DNA Sports Recap.
Hell yeah. Roll the intro.
Nice.
I forget my lines sometimes,
we need to write a script.
Dude, I told you. Seriously, if we could put that up here somewhere.
Do some post-it notes up there. By the way, how dialed in is our little setup getting?
Dude, it is getting legit. Like, we're in front of the big time screen at this point.
Yeah, we're doing good.
Yeah, all 26 views on our videos. Not even all of our followers are watching our video.
That's a good point. That's true. Well, you got to think that most people like the baseball content. Some people like the basketball content. And then nobody likes football. Our lowest rated videos so far have been football related. So, Ooh, we need to talk Jazz.
Yeah.
We definitely need to talk Jazz basketball tonight. Yeah, we got some news on that. So we definitely got to talk about that. All right, so let's go ahead and first talk about the MLB. I don't know if you've seen in a previous video that we talked about, which is actually our highest viewed video on YouTube, which is on the Oakland A's.
Make sure you check that one out.
Absolutely. We'll put that video on the end card here. We did have a commenter. His name is David. He actually asked, what's the news about the Brewers? Because we added that the Brewers were in that list of potential teams that could potentially move.
Thanks, David. We got you. We're going to follow that up right now.
Yes, it's actually been reported now by CBS Sports is where I'm getting this actually. American Family Field, formerly Miller Park for the Milwaukee Brewers, was built in 2001, is in desperate need of renovations.
Yeah, to the tune of $428 million over the next 20 years. But I mean, their current lease expires 2030. So, I mean, they've got a few years to try to figure it out. But
I don't know, man.
The governor just put forward a plan to try to get $290 million to start renovating the stadium, and it was rejected.
Oh, wow.
So, not good news for the Brewers. They're definitely going to be looking to make some changes, you would think.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it gets the point about the relocation and why their names was added in is that it's actually one of the things that the commissioner's office can do is force relocation of a team if they feel like, and that's been a big push because what's going on in Oakland and what's going on in Tampa Bay, the commissioner does not want, Rob Manfred does not want the same thing happening in another city. So he actually did a tour in spring training and visited all ballparks.
Oh, really?
Yes. I don't know if he, at the beginning of the season or spring training, but went to all ballparks to assess how the experience for the fan is, to basically just get in front of this. So I don't know. What's your take on this?
I mean, baseball's just been around so long, dude. I mean, some of these stadiums, like, honestly, opening in 2001 doesn't seem like that old of a stadium. I mean, in 20 years, like...
22 years. I don't know. I just think build quality and build grade. That old adage, they don't make them like they used to.
Right.
They don't build them like Wrigley Field, Camden Yards, Fenway. These ballparks that are meant to survive the apocalypse, they're just not built that way anymore.
Right. They're
built to be renovated every 20 years. A good example is Coors Field. Like that was built in the mid 90s, right? So, yeah. And that's still, it's the oldest National League stadium next to Wrigley Field and Dodger Stadium. It's the oldest stadium in the National League.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It's surprising, right?
That's the only major league stadium I've actually been to is Coors Field.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
I've actually never been there.
No?
Believe it or not. No, I've never been to a Rockies game. because they suck.
I went to see the Rockies play the Braves. So
Yeah.
when I was a wee lad.
A wee lad.
Wee lad. Sorry, Scottish fans.
Yes. Sorry, guys.
We're not hating on you.
We're not hating on you. Bad accents aside. But yeah, so I just think, I don't know, man. I just think around the turn of the century, people just weren't building things to last anymore like they used to. I think they're up to code, but barely that. And I honestly, I just think the fact that it's in the news that they may be forced to relocate is just Rob Manfred kind of just incentivizing and persuading the ownership group just to be like, hey,
It's time.
get your you-know-what together, or we will look at moving you. So thanks for the comment, David. Sorry. Thank you for the comment, David. But again, just another follow-up on that, and that's actually just recently been in the news this week. So
Yeah, pretty cool.
stuff. So did you hear about the news that broke today? Jacob deGrom is now going down under the knife for his second Tommy John surgery.
Wow, dude.
Torn UCL on the elbow, out for the rest of the season, possibly most of the next season. The Texas Rangers just signed him to a massive contract starting last year. He was pitching well this year, had some shoulder issues, and now he's going to be out for the rest of the season to go underneath Tommy John.
Yeah, so interesting enough, did you know that 20% of MLB pitchers that get the Tommy John surgery do not return to their previous level of play? So 1 in 5 don't return to their previous level of play.
Yeah, that's like an 80% success rate.
Which isn't terrible, but if you're that 1 out of 5, dude, I mean, how many millions of dollars did you just miss out on, in a future career? Procedure was devised in 1974 by surgeon Frank Jobe. He was actually the Dodgers team physician in 74.
Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about Tommy John. So who is the greatest pitcher of all time? In my opinion, Sandy Koufax. And he ended his career early from a symptom called dead arm, which is basically Tommy John, like the tear of the UCL. And if that was actually around when he was there, we could have probably had another 5-10 years of Sandy Koufax. He probably would have gone down as the greatest pitcher of all time, in my opinion, if that was available back then, which it wasn't, which is ironic because, again, also pitched for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
Yeah. Frank Jobe was actually commented saying that he wishes that he would have, because he actually had come up with the procedure about 10 years before it went major.
Oh, really?
So in 64, and he actually could have, I think it was right in the time frame that he could have potentially performed it on Sandy Koufax.
No kidding.
And then it would have been the Sandy Koufax surgery rather than the Tommy John.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. This is the reason why I want to talk about the Tommy John and why Jacob deGrom going down with his second is that it's insane, the amount of pitchers we are losing to this right now. So according to MLB analysis, in 2021, 33% of all Major League Baseball pitchers will have Tommy John surgery at some time in their career. That number is expected to be as high as 40% at the end of this season.
Wow.
Now, if you look at the Wikipedia page and it talks about Tommy John, there's a Wikipedia page. It basically breaks down every Major League pitcher that has had Tommy John surgery going back to when Tommy John had it back in the 70s, right? Mm-hmm. They break it down year by year by year, and for some reason in 2018, there's the biggest list. There's over 25 names on that list.
Right, huge spike.
Huge spike there.
Saw that.
2020 was the shortened season. A lot of players elected not to play and just get the surgery, so that's why that number is inflated. But I really think 2018, 2019, and then also in 2021 and now 2022 has been a huge spike in Tommy John surgery over the last, like I said, 5 or 6 years. That's a huge number to have these players jump up. But Tommy John actually was gone on record saying, the pitcher, he went on record saying that he believes that it has to do with the amount of stress that these people are putting on their arms at a young age. They're saying that kids nowadays at the ages of 8, 9, 10 years old are pitching 12 months out of the year. They're putting in work and throwing pitches and just overstressing their arm at way too young of age and throwing too much. He said that he doesn't believe that full-grown adults, he's like, there's nothing wrong with the throwing the pitch on the arm isn't necessarily bad for your arm. It's just the amount of stress, the amount of wear these kids who are under the age of 25 are putting on, because their body's not fully grown until that time.
Absolutely.
That are putting the stress they're putting on their body ahead of time that's causing this problem. That's his suggestion.
Yeah, his diagnosis for the issue.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a doctor, but this, it is named after him. He did go through it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you think?
The fact is the training regimen to be a professional ball player is absolutely insane, dude. Mm-hmm. If you're not training 12 months a year, you probably don't have a chance to be in the league, period. And unfortunately, the only way to get better at throwing and get stronger at throwing is by throwing.
It's by throwing, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something you get better at by thinking really hard about it or swinging a bat. Like, you got to throw and throw and throw.
Yeah.
So that's tough, dude. That's a real tough situation because without that much exposure, you're just not probably going to be good enough.
No. Can you imagine a parent?
You might last longer.
Yeah. Can you imagine a parent going up to Major League Scouts while your kid's in high school or junior high and saying, sorry, no, my kid's not going to pitch today. I know you flew all the way down to here, but he's not pitching today because he pitched 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Like, that's just, like, I just don't see that happening.
Yeah. No.
It's tough. But I agree with that. I think that it has to do a lot with lack of preparation in the body, as far as strength training on the shoulder, lifting, getting the muscles, the supporting muscles strong, stretching, prepping before and after. I think, they just go out there, they throw, and they ice it down after, and then they go straight into bullpen the next day,
Yeah, see, and I think a lot of it is probably some of these kids at these young ages are not throwing the way that they're actually supposed to be throwing a baseball. I mean, like in a pitching position, they're not using their body and turning their hips and using their body like a rubber band, like you're supposed to.
Right.
They have arm talent, and they get up on the mound, and they showcase their arm talent.
Right.
That's
true.
I mean, that's a good way to mess your arm up, man.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not using your whole body and your full mechanics to throw a pitch, everything's on your arm. Everything.
It's a lot of stress.
It's all on your elbow.
Yeah, I think it's insane.
Yeah.
So here's my theory behind the Tommy John and why we see such a huge spike. Everybody's pitching for velocity now.
Yeah.
If you're not throwing triple digits in AAA, then you're
not coming up. I mean, unless you've got a curveball that's going to break 18 inches, like.
Yeah, but I think the biggest piece is that you'll notice that the timing of most Tommy John surgeries happening over the last 5 years times in perfectly with MLB changing the ball every year and MLB cracking down on the sticky stuff. Yeah, these pitchers are trying to figure out a way to grip the ball, and the ball is super slippery. So they started finding other ways other than just sunscreen and rosin to grip the ball. And they used things like spider tack and some other type of sticky stuff. You saw a huge spike in 2018 and 19 of pitchers getting blisters because of all this foreign substance they're putting on their hands. And they say they're trying to grip the ball, but we all know that that's not, it's just because you're putting foreign chemicals on your fingers and it's causing a little bit of irritation.
Yeah.
But I think it has to go all the way down to that, man. I think pitchers are trying to grip the ball, and they're having to throw it harder, grip it harder. And because of this reason, because the ball changes every year over the last 5 years, and because we change what rules we're enforcing, we're seeing pitchers go down at record rate with this injury.
That's pretty insane, actually.
Would you like to hear some interesting facts about Tommy John surgery?
I would love to.
Hung-Ji Kuo set an MLB record with 4. He was known as Status Quo, because that's how you pronounce his last name.
Yeah.
He actually ended up being, again, Dodgers closer.
Maybe it's actually where they're pitching. Maybe it's Dodger Stadium that's killing them.
Yeah.
Have you thought about this? Maybe we should do some research.
So he had 4 successful Tommy John surgeries. There actually is one. His name is Jose Rico. He reportedly had 5 Tommy John surgeries, but the dates of those cannot be confirmed. So crazy. I don't know if I could keep pitching after my ligament in my elbow being replaced 4 times, but
might as well give it a run.
Yeah, just see what you got left, right?
Yeah. What's the worst that could happen at that point?
Have it a 6th time and retire,
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And if would it be worth one world championship?
It will be worth one fat contract for sure.
Yep.
One fat MLB contract.
One fat MLB and generational wealth.
Yeah, well, that'll be worth it. Having to not straighten your arm very well for the rest of your life.
Correct.
Totally worth it.
It's fine.
So anyway, on a more happier note, let's continue talking about pitchers. Did you hear about Chris Bassitt's last start on
Dude,
Friday?
I did, and it's absolutely insane. And I love that it happened against his former team.
Yes.
He pitches 7 2/3 innings. Mm-hmm. Strikes out 8 batters, only gives up 3 hits, no walks, and he throws 64 out of 101 pitches for strikes.
Which is insane.
That is crazy, dude.
That's crazy good. And the best part is he knew before the game started his wife was going into labor.
Yeah.
So he knew that's why this is such a big deal, is because Chris Bassitt took the mound against his former team, knowing that as soon as his start was over, he was going to hop on a plane and get out of there to go make sure he makes it to his second kid being born. Right from the get-go, this thing was not going to happen that way.
Right.
The game started with a 90-minute rain delay, but he knows right off the bat, I'm going to this game an hour and a half behind, which is usually about all the time he's going to be pitching.
Yeah.
I bet you before the game started, he thought he was going to be boarding a plane, and that didn't. That didn't happen.
He goes on to start just like continue killing it though. I mean, the Mets' top 4 hitters, they went a combined 1 for 11 against him with 3 strikeouts. The top 4 hitters on the Mets.
Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Big time guys, man.
Big time guys for sure.
1 for 11.
Yeah, and the best part was he got there in plenty of time. His son, didn't want to be born without his dad around. It was over a 50-hour labor.
So it should be.
Yeah, make sure you're around for the old man to make sure he makes it there for sure.
He was just trying to pitch.
Just try to pitch,
And he was slaying at doing it.
Exactly. That's awesome. Big news in golf, actually.
Huge news in golf, dude.
Huge news. First time we're covering golf on the channel, so let's go ahead and jump into that. Let's talk about the announcement that came out yesterday. It was announced that the PGA is merging with the Liv Tour.
Yep. If you follow golf, Liv started in 2021 by Greg Norman, a former PGA player. And the big controversy is Liv's backed by billions of dollars from the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund, which is known as their public investment fund. There's a whole lot that we could unpackage in there, but
we're gonna sidestep that landmine.
Yeah. So they pretty much start throwing just stupid money at some of the biggest PGA players. I mean, including Phil Mickelson, Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson, Bryson DeChambeau, Cameron Smith, big time players in the PGA. And they're not just offering him, a $3 million bucket to win. They offered Phil Mickelson $200 million.
Salary.
They offered Brooks Koepka $100 million with a $50 million upfront signing bonus.
Wow.
Dustin Johnson got $150 million. Bryson DeChambeau got $125 million. Cameron Smith got $100 million.
Wow.
So they're just throwing money at these guys saying, we're going to change the whole game of golf. And the big controversy is the PGA wasn't allowing these guys to come back from their PGA contracts. And they're telling them they're going to fine them 2, 3, even 4 times what their bonus structure was for going to play on the Liv Tour. Saying that it was going to change the way the golf was played. And, PGA's, I get representing your brand, but all you're trying to do is just make sure that there's no competition against you putting on the best golf in the world. And guess what happened?
Yeah. I find that funny. There's like lawsuits and like pending lawsuits against these players.
All of which have been dropped.
All of which,
as of yesterday.
As of yesterday, these are all dropped, and they announced they're some kind of merger. Now, there's not a whole lot of information about how that's going to shape out going forward. The game isn't as mainstream as you would expect a sport that's so popular to be.
Yeah.
So I definitely think they do have a marketing issue, and I hope that this merger kind of helps propel the game forward.
Oh, I think it will. I think you're going to see. I mean, the Liv Tour was fun to watch, man. I watched a couple of those rounds, and it was cool to watch. I mean, they weren't doing very well. No, but I mean, it was cool.
It's hard to play competitive when you're already sitting on $180 million in salary.
And a $50 million signing bonus?
Yeah.
You realize Brooks Koepka, he just won the championship, the last one that they just did. His bag for that one was $3.15 million to win the tournament.
Right.
$3.15 million.
Was that a Liv tournament? Or
no, that was a PGA tournament.
It was a PGA.
And he won $3.15 million. Liv had already promised him he already got $50 million from Liv.
How much money is the PGA making and not paying their athletes?
Well, I think that's exactly the problem.
I think that's really what Liv did. Is like, you know what, guys?
We know there's money in it.
We know this is money. We know there's money in it. We know the sponsors are paying out the tooth. We know we're seeing these TV deals going to MLB and NBA and the NFL, and we're seeing what these companies are making, and you're paying your players, only if they perform well, 6 figures, which, honestly, a $500,000 participation bonus if you made it in the top 30 of a tour in a tournament.
Yeah, I mean, that's good living.
That's good money, right?
Yeah,
no one's gonna.
You're gonna make a couple $1 million in a year for sure.
Every one of these tournaments probably that gets headline coverage on ESPN, like the Masters, I guarantee you those are bringing in billions of dollars.
Oh, for sure.
And you're paying the winner like what, $5 million, $10 million,
$3.15 million.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking your max purse for one of these is, your max payout on all the players in the round is probably 10-15 million.
Yeah, it's insane. That can't be right.
I'm sure they have very good margin.
They better.
Yeah.
So at least I hope that's the best thing that comes out of this is that they restructure some money the players' way, because it's insane. These people have dedicated their lives, man. Some of these have been playing golf since they were kids.
It's all they know.
I just think you make it to the NBA, Major League Baseball, football, you got a decent contract coming your way at some point.
Yeah.
If you make it but you can make the PGA Tour, not clear $1 million in annual revenue, which is insane. But you dedicated your entire life to one thing. So, I mean, I don't know. I hope that's what comes out of it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Sweet. Moving right along, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the NBA. So let's talk about the news that came out this week. It came out just shortly after we wrapped a recording on last week's episode, was the Phoenix Suns hire. You want to go ahead and dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, Frank Vogel's been around the league a long time. He's out of the Rick Pitino coaching tree. He originally followed Pitino out of Kentucky and ended up going to the Celtics, started as a video coordinator.
Gosh, all these video coordinators end up,
right?
That's the job to have, folks.
Clear. Yeah, you want to be a head coach in the NBA, make sure you're a video coordinator first.
Video coordinator. Be the guy editing in the video room. Guaranteed 10 years head coach in the NBA.
Yeah.
If you're good at your job.
So he's a Pacers assistant for 4 years, from 2007 to 2011. He's the Pacers assistant. He ends up getting the head coach from 2011, 2016. 2016 to 2018, he's with the Magic. 2019 to 22, he's with the Lakers. Wins the 2020 championship. If you're listening on the podcast, I'm air quoting right now because everyone knows that the 2020 championship has gigantic asterisks next to it.
Unless you're a Lakers fan.
Yeah, if you're a Lakers fan and you know exactly who you are, you know
who you are. Well, coming from another team who won a 2020 championship that was also from LA.
You know who you are too, Darren.
Yes. It is considered a Mickey Mouse trophy. In the NBA, it is considered a Mickey Mouse ring because you literally won it at Disney World. Mm-hmm. That's literally where you won it. So.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's made of plastic also.
Yeah.
So I don't know. My concern with Frank Vogel is he's a defensive-minded coach.
Yes.
He's got a ton of offensive talent. Chris Paul was informed today that he's going to be waived by the Suns. With Frank Vogel taking over as head coach, he's more of a defensive-minded coach. You're not going to get a ton of defensive production out of Chris Paul. He's there to pass the ball over and over and over and then shoot 15-foot jump shots.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what he does, and that's who he's always been. He's great at it.
I would argue he was the reason why they progressed to where they got to where they were as a leader in the locker room and a floor general. I think he's probably a big part of what brought them to what they were before.
Relevancy?
Yeah. Before the.
You don't think it was Kevin Durant?
No, because they made it to the conference finals before they had Kevin Durant. So
they didn't even make it to the conference finals with Kevin Durant.
Yeah, exactly. So how does Barkley put it? Bus rider versus the driver.
Yeah.
He says KD's a bus rider, not a driver.
Well, I mean, I'm actually a huge Kevin Durant fan. I mean, I think he's one of the most talented players the NBA has ever seen.
Absolutely.
But he is definitely riding on the bus. He ain't driving that.
No, they don't. No,
he was with the Warriors for a couple of years and got him some rings. And
yeah, they would have won him anyway, but that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
They proved before and after they don't need KD to win a ring.
Yeah.
So, all right. So anyway, let's go ahead and pivot back to Frank Vogel. So, what do you think this does for the Suns going forward?
I think the Suns are in trouble. Yeah. They have some really talented players. Devin Booker is no slouch. Obviously, you still got KD. You got DeAndre Ayton. Whatever his future looks like. I mean, you've got a really talented Suns team, but I don't know if those guys can put it together enough to make it actually work. Frank Vogel is a great head coach, and being defensive-minded is always going to help a team move forward in the playoffs. If you think that you're going to convince Kevin Durant and Devin Booker that they need to play 30 minutes of defense and then also put up 35 points a game, I just don't foresee that happening, right?
Right.
So that's going to be a challenge for Frank Vogel moving forward with that Suns team. I'm very interested to see how that goes.
Yeah, let's talk about some local news. Let's talk about Ryan Smith's interview.
Ooh, I love talking Utah Jazz. Let's do it.
So let's go ahead and talk about that real quick. It's an article that was on KSL Sports that talked about. They were interviewing Ryan Smith on a variety of topics. One about the potential of an NHL team coming to Salt Lake,
which would be awesome.
However, I prefer to have baseball first before we start talking hockey.
I 100% agree.
Now, this is all about broadcasting rights. Now, AT&T Sportsnet, Root Sports, whatever they're calling themselves nowadays, that contract expired at the end of this season.
Which is fantastic because that was terrible.
Not only was it terrible, but it also only gave 40% of the fan base the ability to see it because it wasn't on DirecTV.
Yeah, it's just killing all your viewership.
All you had was Dish Network and Comcast.
Yep.
So there's the only two channels. That was the only two, unless you want to pay $80 for Fubo to stream it. If you had NFL Sunday Ticket, you couldn't have it. And let's face it, most people were praying for DirecTV to have NFL Sunday Ticket and to watch the Jazz games. Well, you still need your NFL Sunday Ticket, so you still had to have DirecTV, but now you're no longer getting your Utah Jazz for like the last 2 years.
Yep.
So, which is really ironic because now NFL Sunday Ticket's now on YouTube. You can get it right there on Business Daddy's website. So.
But I mean, he goes on to say that he wants to get it. If you want to watch a Jazz game, you can watch it.
Yeah, I mean, he's actually talked about this quite a bit. Like they were going to do some solo streaming option where people just paid for their streaming service to have it. In this article, he talked about over-the-air antenna options, which, believe it or not, I believe you still own the rights to KJAS. So you could just literally put it back on. That's the reason why that channel was created originally in the 90s, was to air Jazz games. But I just think that's fantastic that he's wanting to make sure that everybody in Utah from line to line has access to be able to watch.
He's such a good owner, dude.
He is.
He's a stand-up guy.
He gets it.
He's not somebody that you think is worth however billions of dollars he's worth.
Yeah, it's good. I'm glad we had an owner that gets it. I'm glad he understands the shortcomings that Utah Jazz have as far as acquiring free agents, the issues we face here in Utah when it comes to...
Well, not to mention, he finally went over the tax.
Yeah.
I mean, he takes over the team and the Jazz go into the luxury tax to try to win.
Yeah.
That's huge, dude.
Didn't pay off for him, but
Well, it didn't, but
that's the team he got, though.
Yeah.
He didn't build that team. He was just willing to pay money to improve
exactly.
it, so.
And he was willing to pay money to keep him together for a couple of years and see if it was worth, it wasn't, to make sure it wasn't worth disbanding. Like,
yeah.
That is all you can ask for from an owner.
Absolutely.
As like, even just as obviously the enormous Jazz fans that we are, like, hey, if we've got a team that can make a run, like, just pay him. Let's keep them together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree. So, yeah, good news. We'll see what comes from that. We'll see what happens. They do have a couple of weeks to announce. I believe it's coming at the end of next month or the end of this month is when they have to announce some type of broadcasting rights for it. So, hopefully it gets fixed, and a lot of 6% of Jazz fans out there will be able to watch games again. So
it'll be awesome.
Nice. Let's go ahead and talk about the NBA Finals, shall we? Now, you and I both said on the last week's episode, that Miami needs to find a way to win one of these games in Denver. We knew that they weren't going to win game one because of the increased elevation, playing a 7-game series. Denver's been chilling for 9 days.
They looked outmatched in game one.
100% agree, they did. So let's talk about the adjustments they made in game two, which was pretty amazing. So you watched the game, right?
I did.
All right, so let's talk about something that if you go way back in episode maybe 2 or 3 of the DNA Sports Recap, I mentioned that the Kevin Love signing was going to be huge for this team, and that just paid off for me yesterday. Sorry, not yesterday, but last game. By bringing him into the starting lineup, that really kind of changed, the way that Denver execute their offense. You couldn't have Aaron Gordon, with that offensive explosion that he had in game one, where, now he was limited to, I believe.
Do you know who Kevin Love replaced in the starting lineup?
Caleb Martin. Yeah, he obviously was in there just to basically shut down Aaron Gordon, which he did a fantastic job at.
It was very interesting to see the dynamic between Jimmy Butler and just the sheer determination that he had in that game, dude.
Oh, yeah. And the funny thing was, he wasn't even the highest scoring player on the game.
And that's the thing. It's like, I don't feel like the box score accurately reflected what Jimmy Butler did for that team.
No. I mean,
you watch it, dude, and he was just everywhere.
I think what really is not showing in the stat sheet is what he did on the defensive end. So basically, they switched him onto Jamal Murray for the entire game and limited Jamal Murray to 7 shot attempts, 12 points. Now, he was 70% effective from the field goal percentage, but to limit their second leading scorer to 7 shot attempts all game,
yeah,
I mean, that's where one of the biggest pieces that you're going to be able to say, okay, that's what Jimmy did. The guy who's actually tied for the second most points scored in that game behind Gabe Vincent had 23 points, but both Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler both had 21 points each. Yeah. So he still had the second or third most scoring points in the game while locking down their most athletic player on the defensive side.
Yeah,
and being 33.
I would be very curious to see if they could deploy that same defense and it's effective again. Because if you're the Nuggets, why don't you just start switching everything?
Yeah, it's up to Miami to fix that. They got to do that. But also, here's another part: is that in Game 2, like Miami just made it rain, man. They shot 48.6% from three. Denver, no slouch, but only shot 39%. So almost 50% from three in Game 2.
Miami just lit it up.
Yeah, they weren't missing from downtown. I mean, obviously they missed half of them, but in basketball terms, that's practically not missing anything. And they were down by almost 15 points. Yeah, Miami was down by 15 points.
Yeah, when I was watching it, it was looking like it was heading towards another blowout.
Yeah, they were down by 8 points, as much as 8 points in the fourth quarter. Jokic actually scored 41 points in Game 2, which is insane. Yeah. So Jokic still doing his job, right? But they actually went on a 17-5 run in the first 3 minutes of the fourth quarter and almost led by as much as 12 points in the fourth quarter. Jamal Murray had a three at the end to tie the game, but they ended up stealing Game 2, which is insane.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's one of the things I think they need to do. I think they need to make open threes. Denver needs to shoot a little bit better from three, because obviously Miami's not going to be shooting 50% from three tonight.
No, so as Denver, you just got to stay consistent. If you keep shooting 40% through that, I'm still going to say there's going to be a big fatigue factor.
Yep.
Obviously, Miami's going to be tougher at home. Mm-hmm. You know, they got a crowd. I think they're going to feed off the energy. This is going to be a very tough series for Miami. As much as I like this team, they are fun to watch. I really, really enjoy watching Jimmy Butler play basketball. And they're going to have their hands full with Denver, man.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I do think that Denver's going to take at least one game in Miami. But I really think that Miami's going to make this a series, man. I don't see this going anything less than 6 games. Like, I don't think a gentleman's sleep is even on the table right now.
I disagree.
You think it's going to be
Denver in
sleep?
5.
Denver in 5? All right. I think it at least goes 6.
Denver in 5.
I don't think you can keep Jimmy Buckets down, so I think they're going to get at least...
No one keeps Jimmy Buckets down.
I don't think so, man. I don't think so. But let's also quickly talk about...
He prefers Himmy Buckets, by the way.
Himmy Buckets?
Himmy. That was what he just trademarked, was Himmy Buckets.
Himmy Buckets. I love it. I absolutely love it. All right, let's go ahead and cover the report from Shams Charania that came out on Monday. Now, the reason why I want to talk about this is we got a lot of flack in the comments when we talked about Luka being potentially traded to the Jazz. This is reported also by The Athletic and by Bleacher Report, so... we got to talk about it.
We don't just make up these comments ourselves.
Yeah, we don't make up these news stories, guys.
We search headlines and discuss them.
But Shams Charania tweets out that Kyrie has reached out to LeBron James about the potential of joining him and Luka in Dallas. While this report was out earlier this week, Shams Charania kind of walked it back a little bit on the Ryan Russillo podcast, thinking that it's unlikely, but did reach out to try and make that happen. Obviously, his son Bronny's going to USC next year. He likes playing in LA. His family's out there. His other business ventures are out there. What do you think about this?
I read on the Bleacher Report that LeBron has had a phone conversation with Kyrie about this, and his exact words, and this was quoted, was, "I'll think about it." Now, it's not a no.
It's not a no.
But it's definitely not a yes. Do I think the Mavericks are willing to trade away their whole entire team and supporting staff to make something like that worth it to the Lakers? I don't.
Right.
LeBron's an unrestricted agent at the end of 2024. If the Mavericks can pull out a way and they draft Bronny and Kyrie's still with the team and Luka's still with the team, the worlds just happen to line up in that manner. Yeah, for sure. Not happening, dude.
I see a negative 3% chance this happens.
My problem is if you're Kyrie, like, do you really think at this point in your career that LeBron's the only way you're going to win another ring?
That is a very good point. Right now,
LeBron had an excellent supporting cast in the Lakers. They made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals.
The team before the trade deadline wasn't even going to make the play-in tournament. They were actually below the Jazz in the rankings. And so the
Jazz turned the tank on.
Yeah, made the trade, and they got in the play-in tournament, made it all the way to Western Conference Finals, which makes you think, how far would the Jazz have made it if they made it into the play-in tournament? But anyway, moving back to the report here, this kind of goes to my whole thing on our video about LeBron James threatening to retire. Where did this report come from? The Athletic, Shams Charania, the Breacher Report. Who did not report on this story? Woj.
Oh.
Adrian Wojnarowski did not report on this story.
No validity.
No, well, not only that, who hates Adrian Wojnarowski? LeBron James and Clutch Sports. This reeks of LeBron James trying to play executive and trying to pull the strings on the back end and try to control the league still. But the fact that none of this came from Adrian Wojnarowski, which means it got leaked from LeBron's camp. That's what I'm saying on this. This got leaked from them to the media to, again, force the Lakers to make a move because they don't want to risk LeBron James. Well, first of all, LeBron James under contract. He can demand a trade, sure, or we can retire. You can talk about joining another team. Yeah, to me, I just think that that's exactly what this is. This is LeBron James leaking some information just to try and really force. Just enough information to force the Lakers' hand to do something. And I love the Lakers are not playing ball. They're just like, nope, we're not doing this. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I think you nailed it.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Sweet. All right, folks. Well, I think that just about does it for us here at the DNA Sports Recap. Thank you for joining us on this. Again, this episode, if you're watching this on YouTube, is available as a podcast, the full episode of what we talked about, which is going to be a long one today. Find our podcast, the full video on our channel underneath playlists, podcasts.
And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like it, make sure you share it, make sure you subscribe to it. Keep commenting. We appreciate all the interaction with you guys.
Absolutely. Keep those comments coming. We love the interaction. Make sure you turn on that notification bell so you never miss a DNA Sports Recap video. And if you are listening to this on a podcast, please feel free to leave us a review. Once again, folks, my name is Darren. That is AJ. And this has been the DNA Sports Recap.
Till next time. That was better. I'm pretty sure I said like it twice.